Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Trader Summit, and with me today I have Mr. Richard Mathews of GC Partners. How are you today? I missed you.
I'm very good. Yeah, I missed you last week. Yeah, it's getting dark over here. It's almost dark, late afternoon now, so winter's coming.
Winter is coming, and gosh, if you watch Game of Thrones, everybody probably got a little internal giggle for that. I wanted to say, missing you last week, it was kind of a bummer for me too. And I know we're actually planning a few things, and next week we wanted to talk about the ERM. And could you explain to some of the traders that are at home that they don't understand what the ERM was and what a big event it was in the markets? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, way back when, in the Thatcher years, back in the late 80s, and England has always, or the UK has always prevaricating, should we join, should we not? A bit like the Clash here. Should we come or should we stay or should we go? They could never make up their mind whether we'd really be European or not. And as always, we went our 1 foot in it and 1 foot out. So we joined what was known as the exchange rate mechanism, the ERM, and the pound was at a fixed level, and I can't remember what the level was, against the other currencies, and could only move in a certain band against those other currencies.
Sure.
So the UK would use interest rates to control that move, basically. So if they want to pop the pound up, they push interest rates up. If they want the pound to ease, they push interest rates down. But being England, they always pushed interest rates up because the pound was historically weak, or is historically weak. So we joined the ERM, and we had to, the country had to start increasing interest rates consistently. And as they increased interest rates, they squeezed the market and squeezed the consumer. So, for example, they're whinging now that interest rates are going to maybe go to 1%, and mortgage rates in the UK will go to 3%. I had a mortgage at 15%, right? And people just go, I can't believe it, I can't believe it. But that was a byproduct of being in the ERM. So we joined it, and it was just crucifying the country. And in September 92, I think it was, I might be getting my months wrong, George Soros took a different view to the Bank of England and attacked the pound and started selling it and basically pushed sterling out of the ERM. And the central bank, the Bank of England, thought they had enough reserves to defeat Soros. But what they didn't understand was the use of derivatives and the leverage that everyone had in the derivative market. So they were seeing these huge flows of sell orders come in, and they just go, we don't know what to do. And they, it's an amazing day.
So I don't want us to go too deep into it because it is really amazing. And by the way, one of my favorite trading movies, I've always told new traders that I come across, go watch the movie Rogue Trader. And, with Ethan Hawke, is one of his very first, I want to say one of his very first movies, like really one of his big, probably what made a name for him. Really great movie. I actually have it in my, in my office over here, in my closet. I have a copy of that, but it's a great movie. They'll talk a lot about that whole event. But I want to hear it from you, and you. I know you have some guests or a guest that might hopefully join us over the course of the next week. I think we're going to bring in Stelios Kanto to talk to him a little bit about what the ERM was for him and experiences with traders that he's had. So stick around for that. But today, let me ask you, Dick, what did you want to really talk about today?
I think I was at a couple of brokers earlier this week, raising interest in a charity that I'm involved in. And we were chatting about how the world has changed, and how the big trading floors have gone, and there's so much AI now. And with that, a way of life has gone, and a humor, and all the things which I really enjoyed and I got out of it have gone. And my partner in the charity, Kevin Davis, was over, who ran MF Global, was a very, very successful broker and businessman. And we were just saying, we looked at each other and said, we would never get a job now because we were okay at maths and we liked the news, but really we knew how to entertain and have fun and be personalities. And then that set me thinking, I wouldn't really want a job now because I couldn't say half the things I wanted to say because I'd be up in front of HR immediately. And I'm not going to say any of those here. And it's just casting my mind back, and I think there's a whole generation of traders who haven't got a clue the fun and the humor and the laughter that we all had. Like the nicknames are incredible and funny.
Yeah, and so like give me an example of some of the nickname. I know we had an episode where you talked about some of the nicknames, but what are some of the nicknames that you recall that are like some of the best ones?
There was a guy called Pond Life, and he was just called Pond Life because if he walked into a bar, wherever you are in the world, you would know that was Pond Life. He just looked like he'd been dragged out of a pond. It's just a really, really cool nickname. There was a girl called Skateboard who'd had an accident and she'd broken her leg. So one leg was, the muscles had gone in one leg, and it looked like she'd been skateboarding the whole time, so the muscles in the other leg was so huge. There was, I had a guy worked with me, and he might not get this in America because I'm not sure about the slang, but his name was Paul Perry, PP.
Paul Perry, no.
PP, and he was known as Piss because it's PP.
Got that. Yes, of course.
They just went on and on and on. And it sometimes, like there was a guy called Nick Bowler, and he was always known as Tom because of Tom Bowler. And they were just made up almost on the spur of the moment. If you've got a nickname, it just stuck with you for the rest of your career. And I still see people, and I will only know them by their nicknames. So what would you call, like we had this guy on the first trading floor that I was on in 1996. His name is Crafty. Hopefully he's not listening to this, and hopefully he doesn't listen to these. But Phil is I've known Phil for all these years, but we call him Crafty. Anyway, he was like more of the wrong way guy on the trading floor. So when he stand up and say, buy me 2,000 shares of Microsoft, we'd all duck down and like get short. We're like, short me, like, but so what are those guys or gals that were on the wrong side of the market consistently? What did you call them? It was hard because people would disguise their orders so well, but I do remember, and I'm not sure I told you this story before, that we were talking about Americans coming over to London at the start of the market, and an American guy turned up and he walked into the pit and he said, I'm a big fish in Chicago. And from that day on, he was known as Tuna. And every time he went in the pit, the whole market would start chanting, tuna, tuna, tuna. And he could never get any orders done. So it was just like unbearable for him. And we had a guy who had enormous lips, and he was known as Lips, and there was a song about him. And it would make it very, very difficult for these guys to transact business, because the whole market's chanting your name or your nickname, and you're trying to sell something no one can hear you. It's
interesting. I mean, I was saying, I had I wasn't an open outcry. We were in a small little trading floor, and it was actually that the reason why I remember some of the verbal orders is because it was actually the month or two transition that we went from instant, direct execution on your trade station from an open outcry. And that's when I first started. So I would watch a lot of people couldn't figure it out how to use their mouse and what, function keys they had to click to execute. And sometimes they just scream it out because they just wanted to get it done. And we did have a pit trader that would actually execute the trades for them. So that's why I knew some of those, but I know in no way, shape or form had it as cool as you and as extensive as what you had. But I know there's so many. We had a maestro on our trading floor. He was a symphony conductor turned really great trader for the Mesa Symphony, Mesa, Arizona symphony conductor, and he was known as maestro, and he was a very, very good trader. It was all rhythm based what he did. So it's neat to have those people in your remember.
It's funny that you mentioned a mouse. I don't know if you saw that I was laughing, and we were really slow to transition to computers. So I'm guessing around about 1995. And there's a guy who came to work for me called Gary Wayne. And I'll tell this story. And Gary, I apologize if it's not true, but it's always made me laugh a hell of a lot listening to this. And, my apologies. And the story is that he's sitting there and he's trying to trade. He's hitting his computer and someone's shouting, mouse, mouse. So he picks it up and he starts shouting into his mouse, buy 50, buy 50. for weeks afterwards, people were sending chocolate mice and rats and all sorts of things.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So, you know, on our trading floor, because we were in the, you know, mid to late 90s, anger was always an issue on our trading floors. I mean, when things didn't go your way, and the most common, I had a guy next to me named Johnny, and he would literally take his keyboard out, stand up, rip the thing out of the computer, snap it over his knee. Keys would go everywhere. And we used to keep a trash can next to him, and he'd have like literally like 10 broken keyboards, that pieces. I mean, did you have people, like when people got upset about bad trades, what happened on your trading floors? What did you see?
When people got upset with bad trades with me, I passed the phone over to someone else. I wasn't that stupid. I wasn't going to take the rap for it. You know, buy me 50 and stop me out 5-6 days ago. You're filled on both. It was never a good look from a broker to take the school. I do remember I actually am very slow to anger, which will probably amuse a few people. And certainly one guy I know who listens to this used to be a runner for me. He's a really nice guy, really successful bond trader now. And he used to do the commentary. So he'd stand in front of me with two phones on, giving the commentary and watching the hand signals and whatever. And every time he got a price wrong, I'd whack him around the head. And I'd shout out Exocet, you know, it was a rocket, shows how old it was. It was a rocket using the Argentinian War. And I'd shout Exocet so he could duck and just whack him with a phone. And he didn't think twice about it, because actually that was on a good day. On a bad day, I'd make him go and sit on my motorbike in the rain. So I had my motorbike outside, didn't have a cover on it. And if it was raining, they'd go and sit on my motorbike, keep it dry. Can I have an umbrella? No, you can't have an umbrella. Just get out there and sit on it. I don't know whether it was him, but I certainly know that he would have been involved in it. I got onto the board of Trebonds, Fulton Trebond at the time. And I was really, this is my first big move. And I got a new briefcase. I was so pleased about this. I better turn up with a briefcase and look the part and not the scruffy broker. And that afternoon, I picked up a fax machine and I'd thrown the fax machine just down out of anger at something. Some people say I threw it at someone. I don't think I did, but I just threw it down and I stormed out. Anyway, so I went up to the board meeting and all the great and the good and the posh money brokers, the old Etonians and the old Herodians were good afternoon, looking down their nose at us. And I opened my briefcase and the spring started flying out from the fax machine. And someone had put all the bits of the fax machine in my briefcase.
No way.
And my partner opened his briefcase and he had an axe in it.
An axe?
An axe, because he'd sacked so many people. He's known as the Axe Man. And we just looked at each other and, oh God, we're meant to be serious business people here.
Wow. Wow. That's nuts. So let me, one last thing before I let you go. So on the good days, you know, for us, and again, my trading floor days were from 1996 to realistically 2002, right? So somewhere around there. On the good days, because we were in the United States, a little bit different. And then, you know, we would trade equities. They're so, being on the West Coast, it's interesting. You know, you're up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, bell rings at, you know, 6:30 in the morning, but you've been in the office since 5:15. A lot of times you make your money before like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. So, and you're done that first half of the day. Europe's going home. You got the big push in markets. So we'd run off to, we would be at a sports bar at like, I don't know, 9:30 in the morning, waiting for them to open. And then we'd be drinking at like on a Monday or a Tuesday. Didn't really matter. At Wednesday. Yeah. And, you know, our celebrations really were, you know, some of the guys that had a good day, guys or gals had a good day. They'd buy drinks for everybody for the remainder of the afternoon. You know, they'd have a $500-$600 bar tab at $2-3 beers. I mean, it's quite a lot of alcohol, you know, but that was like how we celebrated for my very short period of time. So how about you guys on those like great days where just your floors made a killing, your broker made a killing, you made a killing as the owner of the brokerage firm? What did you guys do?
I didn't drink. The guys would go out and get wrecked, you know, and they'd go out and celebrate and hoolie and God alone knows what went on. I'm sure that there were supplies of Colombia's finest somewhere involved in this, and they would just go and party, and they'd end up all over the place. You get the phone call, I'm not coming in today. Why is that? I'm in Singapore. What are you doing in Singapore? Oh, I got put on a plane last night, and I ended up in Singapore. That's actually a true story about something. Maybe in Australia we ended up. But, they'd end up. I'm in Dover. I'm in Edinburgh. All really funny stories, and get involved in fights and whatever. On
the floors, did they act a certain way? Like I know a lot of traders, they're very quiet until they book that profit, and once they book that profit, the cheers or the crap talking, right.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of that.
So you get all of that, and Billy Big Shot, the broker, and a bit, and it's understandable.
Yeah.
My partner at the time, my business partner at the time, would love all of that. I just thought you just quietly went away, and I'd piss off and go and buy another car.
So let me ask you this. This is kind of personal, but what was your favorite? It's again, we go back to like the conversations we've had. I remember when I walked onto a Porsche dealership and bought my first Porsche cash on the spot at Scottsdale Porsche. And that was like that was for me, it was a big deal. What was yours? Like you look back and go, that was it. That car, that was it.
Two cars. My first Porsche as well. And I went into the Porsche dealership in Fulham Road in jeans, and they ignored me.
Yeah, isn't that funny how that happens? Yeah. It's so weird.
And then they saw who I worked for, and they all over me. Would you like a drink, sir? It's really, really funny. For me, the day I bought a Ferrari Dino, and it was the fulfillment of a lifelong dream, and there's a long and involved story about it, which brings me back actually to when bearings went bust. It happened just around my 40th birthday, which the day bearings went belly up was the 26th of February 1995, which is my 40th birthday.
Wow.
And we got time. Have I got time to tell the story? It's a couple of minutes of the story. I don't know.
Sure, let's hear it.
But when I was really young, I used to go to a place in Italy called Forte de Marmi, and I used to play football with all the kids. And there's a really pretty girl. My wife will probably come in a minute, say she's pretty as me. She wasn't as pretty as you, Debbie. And we kept playing football. And I really, really liked this girl, Monica Bonasoli. And if she's listening, that'd be amazing. And one year it turned up, and I must have been 14 or 15, and she wasn't there. And this Dino came in, and she got out of the Dino with this really good-looking Italian dude. And I just said to myself, one day I'm going to do this. And I ended up doing it. And I bought a Dino.
Wow.
From some of the proceeds I made on the day we left the ERM, I'll be honest, it's a long time ago. Had it restored. Most beautiful car. Elton John, the first owner. The heritage was unbelievable.
Was the original owner of that vehicle? Get out of here.
Yeah. He bought it to money made making Rocket Man.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Second owner was his drummer. Just like the best heritage. And I drove it down to Italy to have a holiday and see some people I was involved in some business with, who I'd been importing olive oil and sun-dried tomatoes from this company for a up-and-coming chef called Jamie Oliver, who's now a really well-known chef.
Sure.
It turned out this olive oil wasn't necessarily Italian. The bottles were Italian, but the oil wasn't. It was all a little bit dubious. And I turned to them and said, I ain't going to do this business anymore. This is embarrassing for me. Hope you don't mind. So yeah, that's fine. And so I drove down to see them. I drove down in my Dino, and I went to exactly the same spot where I'd seen this guy get out 20 years previously with this girl, parked the car and said, I made it. This is all I've ever wanted to do. Went out, had lunch, came back, and some fucker, excuse my language, had stolen the car. And to
no way!
Day, I know it was them teaching me a lesson.
No way. No way.
I got it back a year to the day later.
And what happened to the vehicle?
The vehicle had sat in a garage, had been driven up to Milan, which was exactly 250 miles away, which was the distance on the clock, and had been sat in a garage for a year. and they taught me a lesson.
That is amazing. That is crazy. That's crazy.
And it's absolutely true. And the guy who did it, the last photograph I saw of him was with Donald Trump.
No way.
Yeah, not a word of a lie.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a story for the record books. And
that's what it went on.
I'm gonna end it on that. You know, Dick, I must say it's always fun. It's always a hoot to meet with you and to chat with you. And I hope everybody at home really enjoyed this. And remember to if you're at home, make sure you give us a thumbs up if you're watching us on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. It's free to do both of those two things, to give us a thumbs up and to subscribe so you don't miss any of Dick's great stories. And next week, you know, we're going to talk about, you know, what the whole ERM situation and when the UK left and what had happened. And hopefully we'll have a couple other guests with us at that time. So Dick, I want to say thank you so much for the stories and making us laugh, giving us a good giggle for the weekend.
Excuse the profanity. So you have a good weekend.
Yeah, we might have beeped that one out. I'm not too sure. Okay. Anyway, all right.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you do the same, Dick. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.